This video has been sponsored by Affler and Retainful.
Hey everybody, welcome to the One Shopify Podcast where we share actionable insights for Shopify store owners, app developers, and e-commerce entrepreneurs. So I'm Aashika, your host, and today we are diving deep into two challenges that every Shopify brand, dreads. Long lead times that test customer patience and buy now, pay later programs that quietly erode margins. So I'm thrilled to join by Diana, co-founder and CEO of Downpay. Diana, welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much. Yeah, really excited to be here with you.
Before we jump into the podcast, I'll share to my audience about you a little intro from my side. So yeah, Diana, she's an innovative flexible payment app that empowers over thousand hundred Shopify brands to sell made to order high value products while increasing the conversions and reducing the cancellation. Diana, thank you so much for being here. So
Yeah.
this is my introduction from me. We'd love your introduction from your words.
Sure. Yeah. So yes, I been at this for about 3 years with my co-founder Dennis. We're both former Shopify employees. We were there, I don't know, like a collective decade. Back in before the pandemic. I think I started in 2015, and then similar time actually, we met there, became friends. And then half of our team is also Shopify alumni. We live in Ottawa here in Canada, and it was the hometown of Shopify for the longest time. So lots of people still kind of like, excited and working in the space. So we got very lucky finding some people that want to work with us. But basically, yeah, we had left Shopify and we both kind of went on our own way. And I actually left e-commerce entirely. I worked in as a product manager at another company, and only got back into it when one of my engineering managers told me some of the work we had done finally shipped to production, and the APIs were available, and I was just at the point of like, okay, not super happy with where I'm working. Kind of felt like, okay, I could look for another job, right? I could like go interview other places, but I'm sure I'm gonna find problems with those other places. So what's another pathway, and another pathway that I had never really experienced was entrepreneurship and starting my own company. So Dennis at the time was also kind of in that spot of like, could look for another job, but not super happy with it. And so we came together at like a Canada Day barbecue, and I pitched him an idea for building Downpay, and yeah, it's been 3 years since then. We've crossed like 1,300 brands now. Processed like, I don't know, like 300 million I think now in partial payments, and yeah, it's just been. I never thought, that we would get to this point. So it's really cool to just keep going and growing on the ecosystem.
Yes, your journey is quite fascinating. Probably by pandemic, I was in my 11th grade, I guess.
Okay, that puts things in perspective.
Okay. So yeah, I could see your journey that starting in film sound design, moving through IT and security, then product management at Shopify, and eventually co-founding Downpay. What inspired you to take this leap into the payment solutions?
Yeah, I mean, nobody gets excited about payments, building payment solutions, let's be real. I think my whole career has been about curiosity and just like pursuing the thing that resonated with me. Like I'm somebody who I just get excited by solving problems. And so like I said a little bit earlier, when I was at Shopify, I built a lot of the foundations of what we use today in Downpay. We built it based on merchant feedback, right? So there were like during the pandemic, there were huge supply chain delays everywhere. And so, what happens when there's supply chain delays is customers get nervous, like their money's being held by a brand. They don't know when they're going to get their pizza oven or whatever it may be. And so merchants were dealing with like very high cancellation rates and asking for, give us a way to have more flexible payment, like split it up so people don't feel so stressed that, money's on hold for, I think there were like 6 to 10 week delays on some products. And so we built that structure back then. And so like that, that curiosity is really what led me to like, hey, we could build something with the knowledge that we had at Shopify at the caliber that we learned to build product. And, what if we could solve this problem really well, and not have this be a problem again if, let's hope that another pandemic never happens. But if there's another, big, change, and funny enough, now we have tariffs and everything, which we can get into later, but it's like another kind of like push in the direction of like give people more flexibility. So for me, it's just, taking the next leap, learning skills, and just using creativity to solve a problem. And like along that way, it excites me, it teaches me more, it moves me further down some pathway, whatever, it doesn't matter which way, so long as like I'm just building something meaningful. So
So at Shopify, you actually pitched the partial payments API that's now powers Downpay. And what did you observe in the ecosystem that made you believe partial payments would be the solution?
yeah, so we first, like the API was birthed from the subscriptions work that had happened. So back in the day, you couldn't do subscriptions on Shopify. So I was on that team, and we were working on like making sure that that was giving the ecosystem enough to build on top of, to like bring it all into native Shopify checkout. And so that was like one piece of the puzzle, which was buy now, pay recurringly over time, which meant you had to store a customer's credit card on file. Otherwise, you'd be asking for their card every month or whatever their cycle is, right? And so the same kind of concept, came to mind when people were like, hey, like I don't want to hold someone's money for this product because I don't know when I'm getting it back. But I would love to have an order to make sure that they have skin in the game, that they're like ready to buy, and I can, charge their card, when I get the product and when I can ship it. So that was kind of the big problem that kept coming up, and why we thought like this is a really great extension of what we've already built, to solve a very different problem that was also impacting different merchants, right? We're dealing with higher value products, furniture, jewelry, like things where you have a difficult time clicking that checkout button when that's going to be held for quite a while. So yeah, that's kind of like the big catalyst to building it. And like I said, the pandemic really like set things in motion for people needing that kind of solution. And this fast forward to where we are.
Okay. So let's talk about the biggest pain points for Shopify merchants selling made to order or custom products. So why do long lead times scare customers away? And what happens when stores tie wait list?
Yeah. I mean, like, I always like to just put, people, in a scenario of, buying something, and like, you have a $20 product, right? And you're like, I'm so excited for this thing. Maybe it's coming out in a month. You're happy to just put 20 bucks down and secure kind of your spot in line. Wait lists are fine too, because you're like, I'm gonna just put my email in. I'm kind of curious about this thing. They'll let me know when it's available. The problem is that like as you kind of grow the order value, right, the price of that product, you kind of start other different things go through your mind as you make that buying decision. A couple things for wait lists is like typically like higher value products, especially like, furniture and stuff like that. You're actively looking for something, you're planning for it. You know that most of them take a while to actually ship and everything. That's just kind of custom to furniture. But you're really planning for it because you're probably moving, renovating, changing layouts, whatever. And so like you're kind of trying to time things. And I find that, wait lists are great for like, that red sweater you want that's coming back in a couple weeks, you missed the sale, whatever. But when it comes to these like, high consideration products, more often a lot more like you're thinking a lot more about why you're buying, from who you're buying, whatever. Sometimes you want to, sometimes you might move away from a brand if you don't get kind of the flexibility that you want or the timing that you want. And so, like, there's a lot of things that come into play when it comes to high value products. And it's why you struggle with conversion and you struggle with selling those products online, right? There's just way more things that happen. And so, yeah, the flexibility angle is really why it's a guaranteed sale when you're taking a deposit, splitting that payment up versus just using a wait list. It is a guaranteed sale. It's not very high risk because you are not shipping something out, right, and hoping that somebody pays the balance. And so it's such a great system that like a lot of brands already use in store, right? Or, this is not something brand new to, marketing or merchandising. And so now we're just bringing that kind of like really great customer experience online so that it's kind of helping reduce that hesitation and, the conversion risk to these, higher value products.
Yeah, okay. So, what's the biggest misconception merchants have about partial payments or deposits?
That's a good question. Um, I would say it's interesting, right? Because mostly people, I think we're working on like trying to teach people how impactful it is to their customers. Typically you think about discounting, right? Where you're like, okay, that's going to really help my customer. It's going to, lock in the sale and everything. But I'm of another mind where there's the concept of just giving them flexibility, which lowers that, upfront checkout payment. That even in and of itself could be the only lever you might need to sell certain products, right? And so, like a good example is, let's say engagement rings, right? You have somebody who is like excited to propose to their partner. They've been planning for it. It takes months, so on and so forth. The likelihood that they're looking for a discounted ring is probably not the first thing that they're thinking in their minds. They're probably looking for, some way to flexibly charge for that thing over time. They're thinking about, will I get it in time for, whatever the situation may be. And so like I think a misconception is that like um, you know, deposits deposits are a way to just sell a specific group of products versus like an actual marketing strategy to improve conversion, to sell a variety of different things just by giving, customers more flexibility. The way I like to talk about it is like any product can really benefit from split payments. You can just it's like the modern layaway of payments. And I know we'll talk about buy now pay later and why it's different later, but I just think that the more I talk to brands and like we sit and I give them, the whole sales pitch and everything, the more they're like, oh, I never thought about it that way. I never thought of selling my product in that way. So yeah, it's interesting that our mind typically goes to like discounting and that kind of stuff online when like this is a strategy that I've seen really benefit, specific high value products as well. So yeah.
So, one of the most impressive results you shared is modern bungalow increasing checkout conversion by 47% after adding deposits. So, why does that simple change create such a big impact?
I mean, yeah, it's funny. We talk a little bit about, buy now, pay later, which is split payments, but more loans.
Mhm.
But the interesting kind of intersection point is the results, right? Where you immediately are taking somebody through a buying experience for furniture, right? So Modern Bungalow sells like custom made furniture where you can pick your colors and fabrics and everything. And so you're taking someone through that experience, and at the end, you're saying, cool, you've customized this thing. It's going to take us 12 weeks to make this thing. Give us all our money now, please, even though we're not shipping you a product. And so that experience immediately leads people to go, like, I don't know. I don't know this brand. I'm buying something online. I don't know the quality. And so what you're doing is you're bringing, like, by doing deposits, you're kind of building trust and confidence in the fact that, like, hey, listen, like, we know we're not going to ship you something for 12 weeks. Just pay a deposit so that we know you're serious, that you're actually committing to this purchase. Some people do it refundable, some people do it non-refundable. Like, we kind of leave that choice up to the brand. But you're doing all these things, and then the customer has a little bit more faith in your brand. The fact that you're planning production accordingly, like a deposit covers supplies, production, so on and so forth. And then it's very unlikely, at least we've seen that it's very unlikely for someone to back out after spending, a 30 or 50% deposit on, furniture, especially, or jewelry, that they don't want that thing, after waiting weeks and weeks for it. And so, it's a psychological game when it comes to, why deposits work, but it is very much related to you're meeting customers where they are, the way they're thinking about it. You're saving them money. Like, when you charge 30%, that means the only amount that ever hits their credit card is 30% right now. That means they're not paying 19% fees on their credit card while they wait. Like, there's lots of benefits that I think can often go missed when, you don't think of it as a holistic, like, what is my customer thinking? So.
So, can you share a customer success story where deposits completely changed the game for a merchant?
I mean, yeah, like, there's brands that have never tried it. There's one actually where I reached out to, just like, I thought that Downpay would be perfect for them, and they replied back. They've been with us 90 days now, and I think just like last week they sent me an email saying, "Yep, you're right. Like, we have higher average order value, and we have more sales, over the last 90 days than we did before." And we haven't dug in yet, and we will be building a case study. But it was like, about within 90 days, it was about an like 11% increase in sales per month. And so, like, you have this money that, I think the hardest thing is that you don't know how many people are walking away because it's too expensive, or because something, doesn't, they just can't make it work. And so it's even 11%, right, is extremely impactful to offer this option to let people have a choice. And it's so simple, to get started and everything. So yeah, that one was really eye-opening, but honestly, this keeps happening where, it's people who have never tried it, or didn't know about it, or potentially, like, they don't want to lose margins to buy now, pay later, and they just start with us. And, the results kind of just constantly shock me, because some of the other case studies we have are about 25% increase in sales. So, like, it's a sliding scale depending on what kind of products you're selling.
So, what about the financial health? How do deposits help with the cash flow for the merchants?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, because, actually see more people charging upfront than charging nothing for a sale. So, the cash flow problem was always like, well, like, something's made to order. You're not going to charge somebody in full today. You're just going to charge them zero until, whatever that product's made. And so for me, I actually see more brands charging in full, for something that's going to take a long time. I've seen products that are like 26-week delays, and they're asking for like $5,000 to $10,000. Yeah. And so it's actually not a cash flow problem for the merchant because they're like, well, I get my money up front. But kind of like what we talked about before, the problem is you don't know how many people are walking away because you're choosing to do that kind of strategy. And so for me, I think it's a balance of maintaining healthy cash flow and increasing conversion, right? And so I think that's kind of like the the thing I keep constantly kind of sharing over sales calls where it is a really good thing to do to balance how much you're taking up front that covers your expenses, that covers your production costs, and taking the rest when you're actually ready to ship or closer to that date to make your customers kind of feel more comfortable. And so yeah, it's less about like cash flow, it's more about just like that relationship and then the balance between actually getting some more customers in the door, right?
So BNPL is often seen as a silver bullet for e-commerce stores, but you argue it's not suitable for custom high-value products. Why is that?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about buy now, pay later earlier, and there's a couple things that I guess they look great and awesome on the outside, but they're not so great on the inside. So first, buy now, pay later for high value products that they charge about 5 to 10% to the merchant, right? So they offer pay in for 0% for the customer, but the merchant's, you know, actually getting charged the fee. And so you're losing quite a high amount of your margins for these products. And the problem is that buy now pay later is great for something that is shipping today, right? It's like, okay, I want the thing, it's in stock, but I can't afford it. And so you take out a loan with buy now pay later. Where it breaks or where I just don't think it's as valuable and where brands can actually save is, the thing is not available right now. You can still split up payment, but we don't lose 5 to 10% of the transaction. And then the other place is also something that I'm seeing more often, which is there's a lot of products where, well, either they're seasonal, so somebody actually doesn't need it right now. So let's say you're buying yourself a greenhouse or a shed or something, and it's the winter. You have all this time for when you actually want it delivered. Why wouldn't we offer a flexible way to pay for it that isn't based on loans, right? And so that concept can be kind of it could be an option, and that's why I say modern layaway, where technically you could offer the ability to split payment for something over time on any product, so long as, people are aware that it's not going to ship until you've fully paid for it. But I think that some products actually benefit from that, where somebody doesn't need it right away anyways, and it just affords them the time to like manage their finances and figure out, how it works. Like I said, engagement rings too is just such a great example of like typically you have like a 6 month planning timeline to do it. So yeah, while buy now, pay later, I see the value in smaller in stock available products kind of like suffers a little bit for these like high value. And I hear it all the time of like, I don't want to give away that percentage to a loan I don't need. So yeah.
So, for the store owners listening right now who are struggling with cancellations or low conversions due to long lead times, what's the first step they should take towards implementing a deposit system?
Talk to me. I'm happy to, share use cases. I think the interesting part is getting on calls and conversations with brands and going, "Hey, have you seen this kind of, use case?" Right? Like I just talked to someone who sold like drums, like custom made drums to like a variety of different like, you know, bands in the world. I'm like, this is so cool. Perfect fit, you know? And so I think like we're trying to be very open with like the types of businesses that really, really succeed with us, but it's obviously impossible to cover them all. And I, like absolutely easy to get started with us. Like you can get started with us from the App Store. But if you want to talk to somebody about a use case or like if you're struggling with conversion and you're trying to understand why, especially if you're in these like, let's say your products are over $500, like happy to chat and, brainstorm. But app setup is quite simple, so I won't get into that.
Okay. So, what are the common pitfalls they should avoid when setting up a partial payment system?
Pitfalls. I find Yeah, I find a lot of different ones. So one of them being there are people who use it for like one or two products, and I find that like typically when they start to explore using it for a variety of different products and like letting people kind of just, like in a scenario where something's in stock and something's out of stock, offering to just like, giving someone the choice to pay for a deposit for the whole cart is probably going to get you the sale more than just, that one product that's out of stock. So I find that, the more you kind of think about it as an experience across your store and like offering it wherever you can, the better the opportunity for conversion, obviously, because just the numbers add up. So that's one thing that I always encourage. And we actually have a beta feature right now for deposits on the cart, so you can do it across the whole cart. So those kinds of things I think really help. The other thing is just that like I think some brands are just, there's other low-hanging fruit before you tackle the deposits and before this solves all your problems. And I find that some people are very eager to like get started and try to use this as a strategy, but there's other things that they haven't even done yet to level up their store and to like, get to that next phase. And so I find that rather than, paying for an app, like another app to, hopefully solve your problems. I think that getting your store like to a really good spot first with like the stuff that Shopify gives you is more important than like trying to find every app that's going to solve your problems. So I think some people are just, yeah, like I think just more patience to sort that out before getting into the app space is valuable.
Mhm. So, yeah, Diana, we have come to the end of the pod, and this was really been an eye-opening conversation for me, and I definitely think this would be a great pod for our listeners too. So, yeah, where can our listeners go to learn more about DownPay and to connect
Mm.
with you?
Yeah, so we have our website, getdownpay.com. We're on the App Store this week, actually, good timing, but I know that this might not post this week. But we are on the front page in trending this week on Shopify App Store. So yeah, so it was really good news. So you can find us on the App Store, just search DownPay and we'll pop up. And then, slowly but surely, I'm getting more videos on YouTube with like tutorials and stuff. So that channel is also growing. It's DownPay app on YouTube. So various places, but happy to always chat more with anyone who wants to.
From our side, we'll definitely try to post this week. So, yeah,
Nice.
kudos
I
to you
love it.
and your team.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was great chatting with you, and yeah, thanks for the invite.
Yeah. So, yeah, for our listeners, if you're selling high value or made to order products, don't leave deposits on the table as an afterthought. Think strategically about how they can improve both customer and trust and your margins. So, yeah, this has been the One Shopify podcast. So, see you in the next episode. Bye bye.